What is up, creators? This is Tom. Welcome back to another video. So I've got a cool one for you today. As promised in my last video, I am going to be breaking down today my rig for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. So this is pretty much an entirely handheld rig. I do obviously use it on a tripod sometimes, but predominantly this is for handheld shooting. Like you can see, it's got the really good balance on the top. It has a side handle here and a right handle here for sort of, you know, just standard handheld shooting. I've been using the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera now for over 6 months, and it is probably the best camera that I have ever owned. Like the image you get out of this thing is insane. When you compare it even to the newer cameras like the EOS R5, this thing does really sort of stack up well still in terms of its specifications and just the image that you get out of the camera. But you do have to rig it up, but that's also one of my favorite things, just because one, I love building camera rigs, and two, it means that you have some really good weight for handheld shooting. I've been shooting an absolute ton with this rig, so I'll show you some of the footage that I've shot entirely handheld using this rig. Okay, so now we've got the rig broken down for the Pocket 4K. Now, I'm going to show you the rig build a little bit different to how I would normally show a camera rig build. Normally I go completely ground up, like from every single piece individually. Now, I actually have a bunch of Blackmagic Pocket 4K rig builds on the channel, so I would suggest you go and look at those videos if you are interested. What I'm actually going to do in this video is almost like show you the components as to how I would leave them set up for a shoot. Now, I will obviously highlight each individual component, but I don't tend to strip everything completely back every single time, because it means that you are spending a longer time on a production, setting up, rigging up. Like most of the time I'm hired for a job and I just sort of need to go, I would actually leave the rig built. I'm not stripping it down every single time, but I do want to show you sort of like how efficient and how quick you can actually set this little setup up, and you sort of have everything relatively prepared already. So obviously the main thing on the setup is the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and I'm using the updated 2020 SmallRig cage. Now, pretty much all of these parts are SmallRig parts. I absolutely love SmallRig cages. I've used them for a couple of years now, and I've just never had any complaints, so I've never really needed to use any other brands because these are just super affordable. I think they're really fairly priced, and they're just great. And this updated cage I think is better in a few ways, namely form factor and also style. Like I love the style on this updated cage, but you'll see just through sort of a couple of changes that they've made on the Pocket 4K cage, like it's super ergonomic now. The grip on the right hand side, that was a complaint that I had on the last one. They've changed the area for the SSD holder, so that is a positive change as well. So there's just a really good, like a few changes and tweaks that they've done on the cage which make a big difference. But center of the cage is the Pocket 4K with the SmallRig cage on. I've got a Viltrox adapter so I can use EF lenses on the Pocket 4K because it's a micro 4/3 mount normally. And I've never had any problems with the Viltrox adapter. The only thing I don't do super often is stop it down to f1.2 if I'm using this lens, just because things get a little bit hazy on it. That's one of the complaints. Now, I haven't needed to upgrade to the Metabones adapter for the time being, but who knows, I might do that in the future because you can use f1.2 super nice and totally clean on that speed booster. But like I said, if you are looking at getting the Pocket 4K, definitely recommend getting a speed booster, and then you can adapt EF glass and have, you know, an amazing choice of lenses that you just don't really get on the micro 4/3 mount that this camera comes with default. All right, next up on the tool list is this guy. Let's try and get my camera to focus on it. All right, it's not going to do it, but this is the SmallRig multi-tool. As anyone who's watched one of my rig videos before, I absolutely love having one of these in my camera bag at all times. It's super useful just on set anyway, just having a little multi-tool like this, a couple of screwdrivers and Allen keys, that type of thing. But this is what I'm going to be using to sort of rig the whole thing together. So first of all, we're going to use our top handle. Now this is a SmallRig top handle with an Arri locating plate, and this just goes bang on the top of the setup, right at the front, and just screwed in. Because these things can be a little bit tricky to screw in, I actually use one of the Allen keys, poke it through the hole in the side, and then tighten just like that. Like that is now super stable, super sturdy, and you've already got, like, you know, a decently weighted camera setup if you could literally run and gun just like this. But I do have a few other things to add on to this rig. Next is the base plate and battery. So I have a couple of things here. So I've got a camera base plate, as you can see, and that is connected to a couple of 15mm rails, which go into a cheese plate and a V-mount battery. So I'll separate these, and these are configured in this way because I pretty much only use this configuration in this way. So again, I'll have all the parts linked down below, but I have a cheese plate for the battery to go on, and that is connected onto the rails using this adapter. Again, I will link that down below in the description. But like I said, this saves valuable time. Instead of having to screw on each individual element, these are already configured and already set up. I can then get the V-mount battery. This is a Baxter V-mount battery, 13,200 milliamp hours. I can shoot all day with this battery. Like, I've literally never had a problem with it running out. Like I said, most of my shoots are run and gun style and you need to be prepared, but I've literally just never had an issue with battery life on this camera using this setup. So that slots on to the cheese plate, as you can see, like this, locks into place, and then we're basically good to mount this onto the camera now. So literally just with two of those changes done, like, we already have the sort of main core bulk of the rig set up. Like I said, that is a really well balanced shot and is super useful for low down running angles that like, personally, I find this camera rig to be exceptional for. Like, this skateboarding shoot, which I showed you some of the clips for earlier, is just extremely powerful, that you can, like, run next to somebody skateboarding, for instance, and still get really good shake-free footage, or at least like the right type of shake in your image. Super, super useful. On to the next part now. I have a wooden left handle here. This again is a SmallRig part, again with Arri locating pins here. And then I have a SmallRig T5 SSD adapter holder with a Samsung T5 SSD in the holder. Now again, all of these things pretty much stay connected. Like, I have no reason to unscrew these pretty much ever. Like, the SSD just comes out nice and easy, and I can, like, put footage directly onto my computer from the SSD. But that is really the only thing which moves on that setup. This screws in to the other side of the right handle, so the left handle. Again, I'm going to do the same thing with one of the Allen keys, just to give this a tighten and make sure it's super secure. Then go in like that, and that is nice and tight now. So like I said, the SSE stays here, and again, we've got a super stable setup just from that additional left handle. Of course, a lot of the time I actually have my camera or my hand like mounted underneath here so I can change focus. Oh, my lens has fallen off. That's good. But on the whole, like I say, I do often have my camera with, like, both hands mounted and this almost pressed in my shoulder. That's a super secure shot. Okay, so finally, before we go into the wires and connections, the monitor that I'm using is still the Atomos Shinobi. I think that I'm planning on going to move to a Ninja 5 so I can use it with the EOS R. But for now, the Shinobi is just doing a fantastic job. I absolutely love this monitor. Now, I get a lot of questions as to why I don't power the monitor from the rig. So there's a few reasons for that. First of all is to cut down on a wire. Like I hate having wires around my setup. I want it to be sort of as clean as possible. One extra wire is a good thing. Next, I use these big Sony NPF batteries. These pretty much power this monitor most of the day. I do carry 2 of them just in case. Maybe it's like a really hot day or that type of thing and it's draining a bit faster. But on the whole, like I said, the battery life is good on the with the Sony NPFs, and this adds extra weight to the setup. So this is using a SmallRig monitor mount, and that just has a hot shoe underneath, so this can go into the top of the handle, and again, this is now we'd be able to get super good sort of low angle shots, or if it's up on my shoulder, I can have this sort of just looking like this. And again, that extra weight from the NPF battery, it just adds extra stability to the rig. And now pretty much the only thing to do is just wire them up. I have the SSD cable here, the USB-C SSD cable, and a D-tap power cable. So this can go in here, the D-tap, and then go around to the side and plug that one in, nice and simple. And then the SSD connection can go in here to the SSD, tighten that up, and then the SSD connection into the camera. That's done just like that. I do also have a microphone. This is just the Video Micro, which can be put onto this setup. I don't tend to use this super often, but it can go here just because I've had some questions in the past about adding microphones to these setups. This can go here, slot that in and pull across the microphone input, just like that. And then we have a curly coiled HDMI cable that can go from the Shinobi here into the camera down here. Just like that, we have the entire setup. Couple of super quick tips. First of all is that the coverings and casings on the ports for the Pocket 4K, take them out. Get a pair of tweezers, grab them as close to the plastic end, and you can just pull them and tug them out and then put them in at a later date if you need them. Maybe you're selling the camera or something like that. Next would be the this little mount adapter here. I'm not sure if you can see, it's just in between the lens. This is actually a support for the speed booster. And again, I'll have that link down below. Just adds an extra bit of stability to your speed booster. If you're using heavier lenses, you need that little piece of extra support. Just screws onto the bottom of the speed booster and screws onto the bottom of your cage, nice and easy. But guys, that is the rig build. Like, this is a setup which I use all the time. I absolutely love this camera. I got a bit of sort of camera envy about the EOS R5 and the A7S Mark III, and I sort of just ended up going out shooting to sort of get past that camera envy, and I've fallen back in love with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. The image you get out of this camera is incredible. You don't need stabilization on a camera like this, really. You're getting a nice authentic camera shake. And autofocus isn't also a massive factor for me because really on the whole, like if I'm using a camera like this, I'm behind it pretty much 99% of the time instead of in front of it. So I can always just pull focus like this. I also have a variable ND on the front here. I'll have that link down below if you're interested. But yeah, that's the entire setup. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. If you have made it to this point in the video, I would thoroughly appreciate it if you gave the video a like. Maybe just drop a comment down if you are shooting on the Pocket 4K, and maybe you're thinking about shooting on the Pocket 4K. And I'll catch you guys next time.